Is Putin's Russia ready for world nuclear war? A war plan is being spoken about, a war map is being drawn and broadcast on Russian state TV. This map points at countries where Russia could deploy missiles. Why? To strike the West. You heard the Russian President Vladimir Putin say as much, that since the West was supplying long-range missiles to Ukraine to strike within Russia, there is nothing to keep Russia from following suit. And just taking that thought forward, the Russian state TV has come up with a map. It basically looks at countries which, according to the news outlet, are quote-unquote ready to strike our enemies. Which are these countries? Cuba, of course, is on the list. That also happens to be where Russian warships and a nuclear submarine are sailing to. We told you about this developing story as early as last week. Now, Caracas and Cuba are not the only spots on the Russian state TV's map for possible missile deployment. There's also Yemen and North Korea.
Нашей редакции подумали, куда бы могли направиться наши ракеты, в какие дружественные юрисдикции.
Слушайте, я думаю, что у Соединенных Штатов Америки в сегодняшнем мире такое количество сторонников, в кавычках, что миллиарды людей были бы счастливы и выстроились бы в очередь за то, чтобы им дали возможность по Соединенным Штатам Америки как-нибудь ударить.
Я вот все время, Евгений, думаю, когда мы покажем в передаче здесь карту не куда по нам бьют американские ракеты, а куда наши ракеты могут ударить по Соединенным Штатам на весь мир, что в зоне, например, досягаемости Анкоридж, Гонолулу, Сиэтл, Сан-Франциско, почему бы вот им не продемонстрировать вот такую карту? Знаете, как они будут кричать на весь мир, что русские?
Now, like you can see, the last frame there are 8 countries marked on that map. Mexico, Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Serbia, Iran, Yemen, and North Korea. The Russian state TV saying these are the 8 countries from where Russia could strike the West and Western assets. The state TV missed out Belarus. Russian missiles, remember, are already deployed there. What's more, Belarus has just said that its army is taking part in the second stage of Russian nuclear exercises. The first phase of this drill took place last month in southern Russia. Belarus's defense minister, Lieutenant General Viktor Krenin, in fact, said that the exercises are meant to increase our readiness to use so-called retaliatory weapons, quote-unquote. Adding, I'm quoting further, now more than ever before, we are determined, quote-unquote. Now, coming back to the missile deployment map now, this is what the Russian state TV is calling an asymmetrical response to Western deployment. At one point, in fact, the presenter says, and I'm quoting here, Moscow could start supplying the same high-precision, long-range missiles, except they will be of better quality since they are Russian, to those nations that are ready to strike our enemies, quote-unquote. You know, had this not been the state TV, this would not be primetime news. But given the source of this map, one cannot make the mistake of ignoring it. Sure, it is riddled with propaganda, but could there also be some truth to the claims being made? The map highlighted North Korea. Now, we have news coming in that Putin will be visiting Pyongyang in the coming weeks. You see, here is a country that Russia has really stepped up its ties with since the start of the Ukraine war. Last year, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, remember, visited Russia. Earlier this year, the West accused Russia of using North Korean-supplied short-range ballistic missiles. Russia decided to neither confirm nor deny the claim. Putin last visited North Korea in the year 2000. This was in the first year of his presidency. Will missile deployment really be on the agenda of his upcoming visit? Apart from the missile deployment, there is another option the Russian state TV claims Russia could consider. This is the nuclear option. Would Putin consider it? Speaking at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, Putin said even the combined nuclear arsenals of Europe and the United States would not be able to match Russia's should there be a confrontation. Putin added that a nuclear scenario is unlikely because Russia, he said, is in a position of supremacy in the Ukraine war. But he also said, and I'm quoting, the use is possible in an exceptional case in the event of a threat to the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the country. Remember, in 1993, Russia abandoned the Soviet pledge of no first use of nuclear weapons. And on this show, we have time and again spoken about Russia's threshold for using nuclear weapons. So I will not get into it again. Instead, we focus on what's happening on the ground. And we see if there are chances, the escalation will reach a point where this map may just come to life. Ukrainian forces claim they have struck a new generation Russian Sukhoi Su-57 fighter jet. Kiev claims the plane was capable of carrying stealth missiles across hundreds of kilometers. What's more, it was one of the countable few Su-57s in Moscow's arsenal. The warplane was reportedly destroyed at Russia's Akhtubinsk airfield. This airfield is 589 kilometers from the front lines in Ukraine. One of Russia's pro-war blogger, in fact, claiming the aircraft was hit by a drone. Talk about striking within Russia. There is more. Look at what the Kiev Independent is reporting. That Ukraine has hit Russian S-400 and S-300 systems in Crimea. One S-400 anti-aircraft missile unit was reportedly hit near Zankui. Two more S-300 units were reportedly hit in Chornomorsk and Yevpatoria. This report quotes the Ukrainian military as saying that the radar systems of these units stopped working immediately after the strikes. And how does Ukraine know that? Because the Russian S-400 and S-300s stopped intercepting missiles that were being fired by Ukraine. So now that you know what's going on the ground, where do you think this war is headed? Towards peace or a world nuclear war? To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.